Hi everyone, in Algebra 3, today we're going to be going over your questions on Lesson 78, your final lesson that you're going to be completing for Algebra 3. I just want to start by saying thank you for an incredible year, and I hope you guys all have an amazing summer. I know it's been such a unique year this year, but I wish you guys the best for any class that you're going to be taking next year, and I hope to see you guys around. And if you're taking Algebra 3 again next year, I'm excited to hopefully get to teach you again. So starting on number 1, we have how many different committees of 5 can be formed from 3 boys and 6 girls. So for number 1, we have 9 people and we are choosing them 5 at a time. So 9 choose 5. The formula is going to be 9 factorial over 9 minus 5 factorial, 5 factorial. So that would be 9, 8, 7, 6, and then 5 factorial over 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 factorial. So our 5 factorials are going to cancel. Then I have 3 times 2, which is 6, and 4 goes into 8 2 times, which would give us 9 times 2 times 7. And our answer would be there are 126 ways that we can arrange that. So that would be the answer to number 1. Now we're going to be looking at number 2. It says Travis was happy because he had taken 4 tests and still had a 72 average. Then disaster struck because he took the 5th test and his overall average dropped to 70. What grade did he make on the 5th test? Okay, so number 2, we have the total of the first 4 tests. So that would be 72 times 4 plus whatever he gets on the last test, and that would be 1 test, divided by the 5 tests, and altogether his overall average is going to be 70. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this side by 5 so that I end up with 72 times 4 would be 288 plus x is equal to 70 times 5, which is 350. And then subtract 288, we would get x is equal to 62. And that would be your result for number 2. Now moving on to number 3, this is another overall average problem, so more of a concept review problem than a new problem. So number 3, it says the average temperature for 5 days was 80 degrees. Then the 6th day was so hot that the average temperature for all 6 days was 83. What was the temperature on the 6th day? So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to do 5, or the temperature was 80 times 5. On the last day, it would be 1 day, and that we don't know what that temperature is, so it would just be x times 1 divided by 6 days, and the average would be 83. Again, multiply the 83 times 6, which would give us 400 plus x is equal to 83 times 6, which is 498. And therefore, the temperature would have been 98 degrees. Now looking at number 4, we have Jennifer bought K articles for 8 cents each. To pay for the articles, she gave the clerk 20 or a Q quarters. How many cents did she get in change? This is another concept review problem. So Q quarters are worth how many cents? They're worth 25 cents. So that means that for number 4, we have 25 Q cents minus the amount that they spent. So if each article was 8 cents, you would multiply that together. So it would be 25Q minus AK. And this would be cents would be left over. So that's a concept review problem that you wouldn't be expected to know for a test. Now moving on to number 5. So we have Speedy could complete 5 jobs in 3 hours and Slowpoke could complete 2 jobs in 3 hours. Slowpoke worked for 2 hours and then was joined by Speedy. How long did they have to work together if they had to complete a total of 6 jobs? So number 5 is an old problem. So it would be the rate of Speedy, time of Speedy, plus rate of Slowpoke, time of Slowpoke, equals jobs. So the rate of Speedy is going to be 5/3. He only works with Slowpoke, so we'll just do T as his time. Slowpoke's rate is going to be 2/3, but he works for 2 extra hours. So it'd be T plus 2 and a total of 6 jobs. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 3 and then distribute the 2, which would give me 5T plus 2T plus 4 equals 18. Subtract the 4. So I have 7T is equal to 14, which means that T is equal to 2 hours. They would have to work together for 2 hours to complete the 6 jobs. Now moving on, we're going to look at numbers 9 and 10, number 6 first. So Lance put money in the bank, in Bank A at 6% simple yearly interest and put the rest in Bank B at 8% yearly interest. If his total interest after 1 year was $220 and the total invested was $3,000, how much money did he put in each bank? So number 6 is actually going to turn into a substitution or elimination problem. But the first one is going to be the weighted. So 6% of what he put in Bank A plus 8% of what he put in Bank B equals how much he made. So that would be $220. Then the total invested, A plus B, equals $3,000. Now you could do substitution or elimination. Most of you probably like to do substitution. So let's just do substitution and solve for A would be equal to 3,000 minus B. We're going to input that in, so that would be 0.06 times 3,000 minus B plus 0.08 B equals 220. So we're kind of running out of space there. So now we're going to distribute. So 0.06 times 3,000 is 180 minus 0.06B plus 0.08B equals 220. So adding that together would be 0.02B is equal to 40. And then divide that by 0.02 would give me the amount that we invested in Bank B would be $2,000, which means in Bank A, we would invest $1,000. So it turned into a substitution or elimination problem. Now we did number 7 and 8 in the first video when I taught you guys lesson 78. So we are skipping ahead to number 9. And we are going to need a little bit more space for this. So I'm going to change my paper. So I have write all 6 terms of A plus B to the 5th. So remember that what you're going to start with is always the first term to the highest power. So A to the 5th. Then it goes down to A to the 4th, B to the 1, starting with B to the 0. Then it would be a to the third, b to the second. So as this one the first term goes lower, the second term goes higher. Then we're going to go a to the second, b to the third, then a to the first, b to the fourth, and ending with b to the fifth. Now I am going to have to write all the coefficients in there. So notice a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 0. Then B 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our Pascal's triangle, I'm just going to look at number 10 to see to the 6th power. So I'm going to start with 1, 1, 1. That's power of 0, power of 1. Then add down. So 1, 2, 1. Then 1, 3, 3, 1. Then 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Next one would be 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. So this is the power of 2, power of 3, power of 4, and then power of 5, which is the one we want. So these here are your coefficients. Coefficient of a to the fifth would be 1, then 5, then 10, then 10, then 5, then 1. And this whole thing right here would be your answer. So now for number 10, I'm still going to use the chart that I just drew right there. So, but we're only looking for the 5th term. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to try and find just the 5th term. So 5th term, if I started, so this would be number 10. It would be a 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So that means it's going to be a to the second. The second term starts at the lowest power. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So B would be to the power of 4th. Now what I have to do is find the coefficient. So I have to draw my chart for the power of 6. So this would be 1, 6, 15, 20, 15, 6, and 1. And I'm looking for the 5th term. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my answer would be 15, a to the second, b to the 4th. And if you wanted to write it all out like this, you could, and then just circle the 5th term. That also works. It's just a little bit of extra work that you don't necessarily need to do. Now moving on to number 11, which is our proofs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the left and hopefully end up with the right. So if you don't have all of these written down, you probably should write them down. I know it's the last lesson, but this is something that you're going to use a lot next year if you move on to pre-calculus. So the first thing that I recognize is this cosecant 90 minus theta. That's going to be equivalent to secant of theta. Now secant of theta is equivalent to the inverse of cosine. So that would be sine theta times 1 over cosine of theta. And actually sine over cosine is equal to tangent of theta. So this left does end up equaling the right, and that would be all the steps you would need to show to get there. So it's all about the steps. It's not so much about just writing that they're equal to each other. It's how do you get to that point. So number 12, I'll do a little bit smaller, so hopefully we can fit it all. So it'd be secant of 90 minus theta times tangent of theta. So secant theta, 90 minus theta, the inverse is going to be cosecant of theta. And tangent, like we found up on the last one, would be sine over cosine. Now cosecant is the inverse of sine. So that would be 1 over sine theta times sine theta over cosine theta. The sine thetas would cancel, and 1 over cosine theta is actually equal to the secant of theta. So the left equals the right. And again, it's the steps in between that are actually our answer. How do you get from point A to point B? Now moving on to number 13, we're going to use Cramer's rule to solve. So I'm going to start with solving for x. And I'm going to do a matrix over a matrix. For the y, I'm going to do the same thing, matrix over a matrix. I have my x column and my y column. And all I'm going to do is fill in my coefficients. So that would be 4, 2, -3, -4. That would be the same for both of them. Both denominators are the same. Now I'm going to fill in for, if I'm solving for x, I replace the x column with what the equation is equal to. So 5, -3. The other column stays the same at -3, -4. Now if I'm solving for y, the y column changes to 5, -3, what the equation is equal to. The x column stays the same at 4, 2. Now we're going to multiply top left times bottom right. So 5 times -4 minus -3 times -3. So top left, right times bottom left. Same thing over 4 times -4 minus -3 times 2. So now you're going to get -20 minus 9 over -16 plus 6. And then your result for this one is just going to be, well, -29 over -10. So therefore x is going to be equal to 29 over 10. Now for y, the top I'm going to go 4 times -3 minus 5 times 2 over, that simplified to -10. So that would be -12 minus 10 over -10. So -22 over -10 would give us 11 over 5. So y is equal to 11 over 5. So once you evaluated the denominator for x, you don't need to do it again for y. You can just plug that in. Now moving on to number 14. So it says the perimeter of a 10-sided regular polygon or regular decagon is 50 centimeters. What is the length of one of the sides of the polygon? What is the radius of the circle that can be circumscribed about the polygon? All right, so we have a 10-sided polygon. I'm going to try and squeeze it in right here. And when it says circumscribed, that means that if I draw one of my triangles here, the circle is going to come around here. And this would end up being the radius of the circle. And we are trying to find the length of one side. So this would be the length of one side. And then we have to solve for this radius. So what I'm going to start by doing is splitting this into a right triangle. I'm solving for the radius. I actually know what the length of the side is going to be because it's a 10-sided polygon where the length is going to be 50 centimeters. So 50 divided by 10 is 5. So the length of the side is actually just 5 centimeters. But when I split this into two right triangles, this would end up being 2.5 centimeters. Then to solve for the angle, it's going to be 360 divided by 20 because remember you double the amount of sides. So 360 divided by 20 would give me 18 degrees. And now what you're going to do is we're going to use sine, because opposite over hypotenuse, sine of 18 degrees equals opposite 2.5 over hypotenuse, which is r. Now r is going to be equal to 2.5 divided by the sine of 18. So 2.5 divided by 18 sine equals, your answer is going to be 8.09 centimeters. And that's for the radius. So you already found the length of the side. You just have to find the radius. Lastly, we have number 15. We have two 5-sided polygons. A pentagon are similar. The ratio of the side of the larger to a corresponding side of the smaller is 5:3. What is the ratio of the area of the smaller to the larger? So this one I'm just going to squeeze in right here, but the ratio of areas is smaller to the area of the larger would be the side ratio, which we just have to flip 3 to 5, and you just have to square it. So your answer would be 9 to 25. So they gave us the ratio as largest to smallest, but we needed to flip it so it becomes smallest to largest. And that should conclude all of your questions from lesson 78. I hope you guys all have a great summer and a great year next year. And if I don't see you guys, good luck, and I'll miss you. Bye.